People really don't know what their expenses will be because they don't know how long that they're going to live.
Americans are worried they won't have enough saved for retirement now more than ever.
Retirement is going to cost, for many folks, over $1 million.
Is no sure thing in investing, but a lot of people think that annuities may come close to that.
It's going to more safe things that they know. If they know they're going to need that money to supplement their retirement, well, then you can't play that risk.
This is the Safe Money and Retirement Show with John Heishman Sr., founder and partner of Heishman Financial Services, serving the Columbus and surrounding areas. John specializes in educating pre-retirees and retirees about safe money strategies and ideas. Now, it's the Safe Money and Retirement Show. Here's John Heishman Sr.
Retirement risk. All retirees are going to face risk in retirement, but many aren't aware of that. And it's unfortunate because you don't associate retirement with risk. This is John Heishman bringing you the Safe Money and Retirement Show. I want to talk about the number one risk in retirement as far as I'm concerned, and the one I always address as top priority. Before I get started, I want to give you some information. My phone number, 614-861-7055. I'll give it to you again, 614-861-7055. The website, HeishmanFS.com. HeishmanFS.com. I always enjoy hearing from my listeners as far as questions, concerns, feedback, and any suggestions you have for me as far as the material or retirement planning thoughts that you would like to hear on my show. Chances are your concern and what you would like to hear, there's many others out there that would like to hear the same. So just let me know, 614-861-7055. When I do retirement planning for a client, I always address all the many risks that they're going to face during retirement. At the top of the list is going to be the longevity risk. How could we be sure and address that you don't outlive the money that you've worked hard for years to save and protect? You know, in this world today without pensions, retirees are left with the responsibility of managing the spend down of their assets over a retirement period, which is uncertain in length. Yes, we can always look at mortality tables, but those don't always hold true either way, and most retirees will underestimate their lifespan. And herein lies the longevity risk, or the risk that life expectancy is going to exceed expectations, resulting in retirement income needs that are greater than anticipated. So, to put it more simply, it is the risk of running out of money, resulting in a lower standard of living, a reduced level of care, or in many cases, even the need for post-retirement employment. And that is assuming you can work physically and mentally in retirement. One of the worst case things I can think of is the need to have to go back to work later in retirement and you're unable, You're not capable of doing that. It's a problem. We have to prevent that. And this longevity risk is coming to the forefront as the population rapidly ages and life expectancies increase. In fact, the risk of outliving one's assets is widely considered to be the number one concern of retirees today. And that's why it has to be addressed by all advisors, retirement planners, or anyone that's managing your money. Even as recently as a generation ago, defined benefit plans were the norm. And this is a pension plan. They provided employees with a guaranteed lifetime income. So you really didn't have to worry because a pension is a pension. It's going to be there for as long as you live throughout retirement. As longevity increased, pensions became increasingly expensive for employers to maintain. That's why pensions are disappearing, and they have been for some time now. So what's happened? Pensions have become 401k plans, encouraging employees to save on their own. And this became the responsibility for the employees to make their own investment decisions and saving enough for them to provide a lifetime amount of money that they can outlive. The number of years one will need their money to last, here is perhaps the biggest unknown in retirement planning. It is also one of the most understood inputs in retirement savings calculations, with potentially the most severe consequences of a miscalculation. So let me give you some facts. Do you know the average life expectancy for a person who was age 65 years old in 2017 was 17.9 years for a man and 20.5 years for a woman. And this is increasing. Those averages are not a guarantee, but merely the age by which half of the population is expected to have died. Consider that for couples who retire at 65, there is a 50% chance that one spouse is going to live to age 89. And the thing is, many don't anticipate having that type of longevity. I encourage you to give your situation some thought as to your savings, your retirement accounts. Is it going to last 20, 25, 30 years into retirement? Well, many, they just don't know because they haven't considered the market risk to their accounts, or their savings is not growing equal to or greater than their retirement income rate of withdrawal. If you have to withdraw 5% each year of the money you have set aside for retirement, are you going to consistently every year going to get a 5% return or better to replace what's withdrawn? Are you guaranteed that money at risk won't be susceptible to what happened in 2008, because we just don't know what the future is going to bring. And because most retirees today don't have that guaranteed pension, they have to make sure the money in their IRAs, 401ks, and other employer retirement accounts are going to be enough to last the rest of their retirement. The last show I talked about budget planning, and many are surprised once they complete their budget that they need more than anticipated. Then going to the next step, the money that you have, is it going to be there and lasting throughout retirement? I just can't stress this enough. When I come back from the break, I want to talk about some things that are going to be problems causing individuals to run out of money. Then I'm going to give you a solution on how to prevent running out of money, providing you with a guaranteed lifetime income in the form of your own private pension plan. So make sure you stay tuned for the second part of the Safe Money and Retirement Show. I'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to the Safe Money and Retirement Show with John Heishman. For more information, call 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. Or visit their website at HeischmanFS.com. More of the Safe Money and Retirement Show in a moment.
Sequence risk, or sequence of returns risk, is the risk when market losses occur early in retirement in multiple years. Most people have never heard of this term because few people talk about it outside financial planning circles. Yet, preparing for sequence risk can make or break your nest egg in retirement depending on how much money is at risk. Heishman Financial Services wants you to be aware and educated about this retirement risk and show you the options available to prevent sequence of risk that could affect your future retirement income. Call me at 888-426-0177, 888-426-0177.
Welcome back to the Safe Money and Retirement Show with John Heishman. To contact John, the number to call is 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. Once again, here's John Heishman.
Welcome back to the second part of the Safe Money and Retirement Show. I'm your host, John Heishman. The first part of the show, I was discussing the longevity risk, which I feel today, retirees, that is the biggest risk out of all the risk that retirees face. I always bring to the table with my clients the risk in retirement. I've put together about 13. And again, the longevity risk is right there at the top. Now, we all can agree that living longer does have its rewards, including allowing retirees the opportunity to travel, to volunteer, get involved in their communities, and to have time to do those things that they weren't able to do during their working career. But as I've been discussing, it comes with risk, namely financial risk, and the challenge of making savings last for an extended period of time. If we all knew how long we were going to live during retirement, it would simplify things as far as the longevity risk. Or if we could go by the mortality tables that the actuaries put together for us, and also in figuring life insurance rates, that also would make it a lot simpler to determine our lifespan. The Employee Benefit Research Institute found that roughly 44% of households in the baby boomer and Generation X generations, those born from 1948 to 1975, were likely to run short of cash in their retirement years. The Federal Reserve reported in 2014 that the typical household with workers aged 55 to 64 has a combined $120,000 in their 401ks and IRAs. Clearly, not the widely recommended 8 to 12 times annual income needed to ensure a comfortable retirement. I believe this situation has gotten better, or the numbers have increased, but due to inflation, taxes, healthcare cost, that $120,000 may be up to $150,000 to $160,000 today. I agree with those numbers that the Employee Benefit Research Institute has put together, because in retirement planning, I see the numbers. I see the amounts that those getting ready to retire have for retirement savings. Also, there has been an increased emphasis on the need to save and the many options that have emerged to help people accumulate retirement savings. And going into retirement, the guaranteed lifetime income benefits that have become, in my opinion, one of the most advanced option today for retirees. It's basically your own private pension plan that I help clients structure to make sure they don't run out of money, because that income's going to be there the rest of their life, along with Social Security, and if you're fortunate enough to have a pension plan from your employer. Please call me about that. I think every retiree, or those getting ready to retire, they need to know about the guaranteed lifetime income benefit, private pension, and will it work for them? My direct line, my office number is 614-861-7055, or the number that's available 24/7 to leave a message for me to contact you, or any material, anything you need from me, is 888-426-0177. 888-426-0177. Now, I also think there's a lot more information today and awareness about the longevity risk, which our parents really didn't have to worry about that because they had a pension plan from their employer. And as I've mentioned on previous shows earlier, that those have pretty much disappeared. There are pension plans out there, but private companies are doing away with them and switching to the 401k or 403b. And that money, meaning a 401k and 403b, we have to take that money and generate that private pension with an amount that's needed to generate that guaranteed income. The other problem I see with those retiring is taking out too much money too soon and too quickly. In addition, not taking Social Security income at the right time. That's why retirement income is so important in working with clients to make sure their income withdrawal rate is correct based on the amount of money they have, as well as Social Security planning. For example, the recommended withdrawal rate could vary a little depending on each individual, their age, and the amount of money they have at a 4% withdrawal rate. And many of you might be thinking, why 4%? Why not 6, 8, or 10%? And simple math will tell us if you're withdrawing 8% for retirement income and the growth of your accounts, that's the money left in those accounts that's going to pay out future income. If that growth isn't at least 8% or better, you're going to see your retirement assets, account balances decrease. So you might be thinking, hey, John, I'm getting a 10, 12, 13, 14% return on the growth of my money. And you know what? So am I. But let's look back at the average rate of return, and usually that's on your account statements. Now, let me touch on a couple of other things, risk, that can affect your average rate of return. Inflation, investment return, sequence of returns risk. These will obviously affect the account value of your retirement accounts. So if that 4%, and again, everybody's different, maybe it can be stretched up to 5%, can work. Statistics show you're going to be okay. Now, the older the retiree gets, the timeline for needing retirement income is now shortened. If the retirement accounts have grown, the retiree will now be in a position to be able to increase that withdrawal rate, and they'll be safe throughout retirement. But actually, it's something that needs to be reviewed once a year on the annual review. Are you taking out too much or not enough? How has your growth been, which will have a bearing on the withdrawal rate? I want to briefly touch on the sequence of returns risk most people are not aware of, and it's not brought to their attention. Now, sequence of return risk involves the order in which investment returns occur. Sequence of returns risk can greatly impact the retiree's ability to attain short-term and long-term goals, and this has been an area of great concern later after the retiree realizes this has happened. A period of market losses can significantly deplete income generating potential of your portfolios. This can put a retiree in a situation that I call catch up to make up for losses, especially early in retirement. The bottom line is we want to prevent that at all causes if possible, And as I've mentioned before, one of the best ways is to have your own private pension plan. My job is to help you prevent all the potential problems that I've been discussing. And if you have an interest in reviewing your retirement accounts, your exposure, or I could say potential exposure, please let me know. And keep in mind, there is no obligation. There is no cost. We can schedule a meeting, or we can talk about your situation over the phone. 888-426-0177, 888-426-0177. Or call me direct at my office, 614-861-7055. All right, unfortunately, I'm out of time, but I appreciate the time that I do have and really hope that I've given you some good information to think about in planning your retirement. Again, thank you for listening. This is John Heishman.
The Safe Money and Retirement Show with John Heishman Sr. To get in touch with John, call 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. For more information about Heishman Financial Services, visit their website, HeishmanFS.com. That's HeishmanFS.com. Join us again next time for the Safe Money and Retirement Show with John Heishman Sr.